finding the intersection of two sets. We have two sets, A equals 3, 4, 5, and 6, and B equals 5, 6, and 7. The intersection, denoted by this symbol right here, is the part that they have in common. So they both have a 5 and a 6. So the intersection, we rewrite it as A intersection B equals the set containing 5 and 6. Okay, and it's important to use curly braces because that lets us know that it's a set instead of maybe an ordered pair or something else. And if you want to think about this with a Venn diagram, you can draw maybe this circle would represent set A, this circle would represent set B. 5 and 6 are in both sets, the part where they overlap. 3 and 4 are just in A, not in B. 7 is just in B, not in A. But this part, that part where they overlap, is called the intersection. And that is opposed to the union. The union would be everything. Okay. Union we denote the other way around with a union. Okay, it looks like a U for union. Okay, let's go to another example. Okay, in set notation, or actually this is in an inequality form. Let's say we have this inequality and this inequality. This means that x follows both conditions. Okay, and means both. So this would be an intersection. Okay, so let's look at the first one. We can solve for x. We'll subtract 4x from both sides. Negative 2x is less than or equal to 8. And we'll go ahead and divide both sides by negative 2. So x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Remember to go ahead and flip that inequality symbol. And let's solve the other one as well. We'll divide both sides by 3. X is greater than or equal to negative 3. Okay, and we want both of these conditions to hold. So let's graph the first one. And it's usually a good idea to graph them each one on top of the other parallelly or similarly so that we can see where they overlap. Go to negative 4. And we want x is greater than or equal to. So I'm going to go ahead and choose another color. Build in circle and then shade bigger than. Okay, this way. And then for x is greater than or equal to negative 3, filled in circle and then shade to the right. Okay, and we want to know where do these two graphs overlap. And so our answer is going to be where they overlap. So as an answer, we're going to have where they overlap is this part right here, from here on. Okay, over here they don't have this in common, but they do have all of this part in common. So our answer graph will look like this, shaded this way. Okay, this will be the answer. It looks exactly like this one. And if we're going to write it in interval notation, this would be from negative 3 on to positive infinity. And if we're going to write it in inequality notation, it would just be this right here. Negative 3 is less than or equal to x. Great. Okay. Go ahead and clear that. And okay, go on to the next one. Okay, so let's solve for this one. Same situation. So we want to solve both sides. We'll go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides. X is greater than 1. And in this case, we have 2x is less than negative 4. Divide both sides by 2. X is less than negative 2. Okay. We'll graph each one separately, just like we did. And we'll do it parallel so we can see where they overlap. This is 0, and then 1, negative 2. Okay, the first graph, we have x is greater than 1. So from 1, with an open circle, shade this way, to the right, and then x is less than negative 2, open circle at negative 2, shade to the left. Okay, so where do they overlap? Well, they don't overlap at all, do they? So if there's no overlap and we're doing an and, remember and means intersection, overlap. So if there's no overlap, then you have to say no solution, empty set, something like that. And remember the empty set, you can draw a circle with a line through it for empty set. You can say no solution. Or you can have an empty graph, no solution. Okay, awesome. Okay, so here's the same example we talked about earlier, but this time we went union. So if we were to write the union, that's we want both. Okay, so we want all of the things from this set and all of the things from this set. So A union B. Think about a union like a marriage. Both of them just come together and make a new set, but it has everything that the other two sets have. Alright, so just copy down everything from both A and B, and that's your union. Alright, let's try this one together. We have x minus 1 greater than 2, or, okay, keyword or, that tells us we're doing a union. 3x plus 5 is less than 2x plus 6. So we'll solve each one for x. X is greater than 3. Solve this one, we get x. Subtract 2x from both sides, x. And subtract 5 from both sides is less than 1. Okay, same thing. We want to graph each one. So we graph the first one. Let's say this is 0. Then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. X is greater than 3. So we'll have an open circle at 3, and then we shade to the right. And for x is less than 1, we have an open circle at 1. We shade to the left. Okay, so for our answer, we don't want to see where they overlap. We just want to copy down both. Okay, so we just put a 0, 1, 2, 3. We'll have an open circle here and copy down this graph to the right. Open circle at 1 and copy down this graph. Okay, so they're both done. Just copy down each graph and that's the answer. How do we write this in interval notation? In interval notation you'd have to say from negative infinity to 1. Oops, sorry, I did it to 0. It needs to be all the way to 1. And, so union from 3 to positive infinity. Okay, but not including, because there's no underlines. And then how do you write this in inequality notation? You just have to write it exactly as it is. So x is less than 1 and x is greater than 3. Alright, let's look at the next one. Okay, so we have solve each one. So let's do 3x is less than or equal to 15. Divide both sides by 3. X is less than or equal to 5. Or that tells us that we want a union again. Okay, subtract 5 from both sides. X is greater than or equal to 2. So when we graph the first one, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Second one, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's draw an answer graph. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so for the first one, we have x is less than or equal to 5. So we go to 5, put a filled in circle, shade to the left. Alright, for the next one, we go to 2, put a filled in circle, shade to the right. For x is greater than or equal to 2. Now we want to take both. So we just copy down both graphs, and if we put one right on top of the other, we'll end up shading the whole graph, the whole number line. So what is the whole number line? That's all real numbers. So in interval notation, that's negative infinity to infinity. And remember, you can use the symbol all real numbers. Okay, it's just a blackboard bold R, so it's an R with an extra line in the front.